She does, doesn't she?
It's being live streamed.
I tell you a bit of a confession.
Yeah.
I don't look nice because of these. I look nice because after Te Whiku Community Boards one, I have to rush back because I am going to work it, W-E-R-K.
Work it.
Which is what?
It is a show at the Turner Centre. I really need to stop going to the Turner
Morning everybody and welcome to the first Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board meeting for this term. So my name is Aisha Hudiwai and I'm here on behalf of our Chief Executive, Leg King, today. He unfortunately has other events, so he's got me as his appointed officer to officiate the beginning of your meeting. And I will just hand it over to Moko as our mayor to perhaps do an opening karakia and some initial words.
Morena te whānau. I'm very privileged to open your first ever community board meeting with a karakia, and I'll get started with this one. I shared it at the Bay of Islands Whangarua Community Board meeting this morning, and it's a traditional karakia which is all about uniting and coming together. And I remember when I first started at Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Kaikohe, that decision to go there led to this, and so I always am forever going to reflect on, you know, all of the different events that led to this journey and getting on council and then eventually getting on here. But I remember all of our tamariki were doing this karakia, and it's quite a lengthy one, and then one of the little 5-year-olds looked at me and was like, "Don't you know this?" And I was like, "Not yet." So I made it a challenge of mine to make sure that I learned this karakia, so I'll get us started with it. Wairea te ngākau hi kaka, wairea te karawaniwani, wairea te hakaro kino, te haka ngākau. Paua te rongongo, haka tongia te aroha, haka tīnahia kia noa kia tūkaha. E kake kia ike amioa te whērua rurukutia te mana, haka uhia te tikanga o te kōtahitanga, haumi e hui e. I'm so incredibly privileged to just share my gratitude to you all for standing and to congratulate you on winning your positions as community board members for Kaikohe-Hokianga. As the mayor, you know, I have to be proud of our entire district, but just between us and whoever's on YouTube, you know, I live here in Kaikohe and I'm from the Hokianga, so I have an immense pride in this ward specifically, and I know that it is in safe hands with all of you. I look forward to working for you all over the next 3 years as the new mayor alongside our kōwhai, our deputy mayor Kelly Stratford, and we will both be here for you the whole time as well to help you with any capacity that you need. Good luck with this journey, and also with electing your first chairperson, who we will work specifically extra close with as a council. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Aisha to swear you in. Kia ora.
I was excited to get to finally do your declaration and to get to act as members. So here I've got your guys' certificates. It's got the declaration on it that you've received, hopefully, and it's in English and Te Reo, so you can choose whether you want to say it in English or Te Reo. And we're going to call you up in alphabetical of surname. And there is a Bible here as well if you want to take your oath over the Bible. So, Mike Edmonds.
I, Mike Edmonds, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Whānau district the powers, authorities vested in and are imposed upon me as member of the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act.
Congratulations.
Sure.
And then you can take a seat.
Well, I hope for somebody Edwards.
ka oati ai ki runga i te pono me te tika, ka motu ki te taumata o tōku atamai me aku whakataunga, ka mahi ai mō te whainga o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga, haere tonu ki ngā ihi mai ngā hiringa mahi. Ka pai ki roto, ka uruhi ki runga i ahau hei mema o te whare o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga, e ai ki te ture kawanatanga a rohe 2002. Te ture kawanatanga a rohe mō ngā kōrero whakamohio me ngā huihuinga kōrero kotahi mano I warau te kaumāwhitu me tāwhiri atu ki ira atu o ngā ture raini. He mea whakakau tēnei ki Kaikohe I tēnei rā 20 o whiringa anoku I te tau 2022.
Congratulations. Tanya.
Kua hai ko ngā whiria ko ka wati ai ki runga I te pono me te tika, ka motu ki te taumata a tōkuru, aku mai me aku whanai whanakatanga. Ka mahi ai mō te painga o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga, haere tono ki ngā ihi me ngā heringa mahi ka pai ki roto, ka uruhi ki runga I ahau, hei mema o te whare o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga. E ai ki te ture kawanatanga arohe, 2002, te ture kawanatanga a rohe mō ngā kōrero whakamohio me ngā huihui ngā kōrero ko tahi mano I warau te kaumāwhitu me tāwhiri atu ki ira atu o ngā ture raini. He mea haka kau tēnei ki Kaikohe I tēnei rā 20 o whiringa nuku I te tau 2022 Mauri ora.
Congratulations. Harmony.
Kua hai, kua Harmony Andrew. Kaoti ai ki runga I te pono I te tika kamotu I te taimata o tōku whakamai me apu whakatuanga ka mahi ai mō te painga o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga. Haere tonu ki ngā ihi me ngā haere ngā mahi ka pā ki roto. Ka uruhi ki runga ai ahau he mema o te paori o te hapuri o Kaikohe-Hokianga e ai ki te tiri o te kāwanatanga ārohe 2002. Ka tiri kāwanatanga ārohe mō ngā kōrero whakamohio me ngā huihui ngā kōrero ko tahi mano I warau waru te kaumāwhitu. me tāpere atu ki rātu o ngā ture raini. He mea whakau tēnei ki Kaikohe i tēnei rā rua tekau o whiringa anuku i te taurua mano tekau mārua.
I, Jessie McVeigh, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the whānau district the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a member of the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other act. Dated at Kaikohe this 20th day of October 2022. Kia ora.
Congratulations. And last but not least, we've got Chicky.
Worried about the font. Ko hau ko Chicky Runkin, ko oati ai ki runga I te pono me te tika ka mutu ki te taumata o tōku ata mai me aku whakataunga. Ka mahi ai mo te painga o te hāpori o Kaikohe-Hokianga, haere tonu ki ngā ihi me ngā herenga mahi. Ka pō ki roto, ka uruhi ki runga I a hau hei mema o te poari o te hāpori o Hoki a Kaikohe-Hokianga. E ai ki te ture kāwanatanga a rohe rua mā rua, te ture kāwanatanga a rohe mō ngā kōrero whakamohio me ngā huihuinga kōrero kotahi mano iwarau waru tekau mā whitu me tōpiri atu ki era atu o ngā ture raini. He mea whakau tēnei ki Kaikohe I tēnei rā rua tekau o whiringa ānuku I te tau rua manoa rua tekau mā rua. Kia ora.
I think we'll look at my slopes.
I should have bought my glasses.
Congratulations. So again, congratulations to our board, and I'll hand it over to Molly to take you through the rest of your agenda. For the first item on the agenda.
Our Christmas council on the next one. Yes.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board newly elected members and returning members. Welcome to your first inaugural meeting. The agenda item, you all received agendas in your compendiums. Agenda item 6.2 is next, and it is the election of your chairperson. There was a description of that election process in your agendas as well, and Aisha is going to preside over that. So election, the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board use System A as the preferred voting system to elect a chairperson, and B, elect, insert name here, as chairperson for the triennium October 2022 to October 2025 in accordance with standing orders.
So you all have a pad of paper like this, and if you can just write down for me who you wish to have as your chairperson, and I'll come around and collect them up. Feel free to fold them in half.
So, all of the rules surrounding this are being taken away. There's a whole bunch of rules here and standing orders about speeches and make points and the ability to talk for a few minutes.
Like everybody.
Oh, so if anybody wishes to be chair?
I thought that was for after the celebration, but it's not.
No.
Unanimous. Okay,
So System A,
So the first decision we made is to choose System A.
So the decision to choose System A was part of the outgoing rules. So that is the system that's recommended for use, which we then undertake. So is there an explanation in there for each person interested in the chairperson role to speak briefly?
there is an explanation in your agendas and also on page of your standing orders booklet. It explains System A, which is A, requires that a person is elected or appointed if he or she receives the votes of a majority of the members of the local authority or committee present and voting, and has the following characteristics. There is a first round of voting for all candidates, and if no candidate is successful in that round, there is a second round of voting from which the candidates with the fewest votes in the first round are excluded. If no candidate is successful in the second round, there is a third round, and if necessary, subsequent rounds for voting for which each time the candidate with the fewest votes in the previous round is excluded. So it's by system of exclusion. So first round.
Okay, so just to clarify here, in the second one up, okay, it talks about candidates may speak for 3 minutes of support of their candidacy prior to the election process. That's the first thing I want to point out. And also the Act requires that we decide on it, even though we give the recommended System A here, the Act requires us to choose System A or System B as a board before we have the election. Now, I'm quite happy, don't get me wrong, I like System A. But we do need, but everybody has to we've got to make that choice as a board.
And how do we make that choice?
Oh, I move that we use System A.
Fine, I'll second that.
All those in favour?
no.
Aye.
Opposed? Against? Carried. So do we have anyone interested in the role of chairperson? Just the two? Who would like to speak first?
Wait, Judy, if you want. You want to speak first?
Yeah, sure. And is there a time limit, Mike?
Just 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. And I'm speaking to the community board. Okay, kia ora koutou. I'm really interested in the community board chairperson role because I've attended community board meetings and I can see a way of changing those meeting styles perhaps to be a little bit more inclusive. I have experience with chairing meetings through our school and board of trustees. and I'm really willing to make myself available to community board members for any reason whatsoever.
Well, rather than start by saying what I bring, I'll tell you what I won't bring. I've been chair for the last 6 years on the board, and I attended all the community board meetings for 4 years prior to that. And I understand that every board is different. So as chair, I won't bring the previous board. You can be certain of that.
Sorry, Mike, you won't?
I won't be bringing the previous board. So what I won't be bringing is the previous board, because this is a new board with new direction. However, what I can bring is the experience of A, being a member, B, being a chairperson. I've worked with a lot of councillors and community board members, and they all come back after 2 or 3 years, and they say it took me my first season or my first term to get it at the table and understand what was going on. And the chair even doubled that. And you've all been to election meetings where they say, it took me 3 years to understand what I'm doing. Now I understand what I'm doing, and I have to turn it. So it is a thing. It's a very hard thing to get your head around. And it's not so much what we want to achieve, it's more the nuances around the information that's being bought, the information, the decisions you're asked are being made. And although the new mayor has said there'll be a lot more empowerment for communities, we've still got to take that empowerment and run with it. Just to give you an example, and some of the stuff is entirely innocent, there's some of the nuances that we get. For example, today, on the last item of your agenda, you're asked to receive a report on when our next meeting is. Yet the law specifically requires that we make the decision on the time and place and the date of that meeting. So it's little things like that over the years that we have found that the power has been apparently taken away from the board, that the board should assume. And those are the nuances and the distinctions that I hope to bring, and here to bring us all up to speed instead of 3 years in a few months. Now, I have no political aspirations. This will be my last term, and I'm quite happy if I succeed in my bringing you up to speed in that very short order. Then I'm quite happy to hand over to show you the process of handing over the next chair. So if you want to receive my experience as chair, yet finish the term with another chair, I'm all for that, and that'd be my best preference. And in fact, the reason I ran was to hand over that kind of experience. So that's what I'd like to be chair, but I wouldn't like to finish as chair. So I'm just saying that.
So is everybody ready to write down on their piece of paper who they'd like appointed as chair? So the board has elected Chiki Rudkin as chair. It's up to you whether or not you want to take an adjournment or whether or not you want to continue with the rest of the items on the agenda. The next being
Yeah, I'd just like to take the adjournment, please. Thank you.
Good. So we'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
How long a break do you like? So we'll come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Trinity is not that difficult, guys.
I joined so that we
Meeting. I'm going to go up to Kaikohe to sing yeah. I don't have my
thank you to our board members for your vote of confidence in me. And thank you, Mike, for all the work that you've done in the past, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. So on our agenda, if we look at our agenda, we're down at reports, and we are at 6.4. 6.3. Oh, at 6.3 we have the election of Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board Deputy Chairperson. And so the first thing we need to establish is the system that we will use for voting.
I'll move this name.
Second that. All those in favour? Aye. Can I have indication from members who are willing to be elected as deputy chairperson? We just have Tanya Felia.
Well, I'll move that Tanya is deputy chair for the training.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second.
Second, Jessie McVeigh. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Tanya. I look forward to working with you. Moving on to Pakitaki. Tanya, would you like to have a couple of minutes just to have a quick kōrero and introduce yourself to us?
Kia ora, ko Tanya Felia tōku ingoa no Omanai ahau, kei o Māpiri tōku kainga noho. So I'm from Omanai, but I live and reside in Māpiri. Come with experience chairing boards through the education system. So I know there's still lots to learn and it's a completely new space, but I'm willing to take on board and learn from others and look for your support, Mike, also as needed. But really feel I have the skills and the strategies to be able to do this role, and thank you for your confidence in me.
Yeah, Chicky, just a point of order, if I may.
Yes.
And it's not for you, it's more for our usual administrator. The legislation Marlene requires that Chicky take another oath as chair. Is that being arranged?
No, it hasn't been arranged. The adoption of the chair in the meeting and the resolution they carried stands.
Oh, sure, no, sure it does. I mean, I'm just saying that in clause 21 of the Schedule 7, one of the things that's required is an election and oath of chair. So I'm just wondering whether we can do that just to. It's the same oath. Chicky said got chair instead of member. I guess you can just say it, right? And then it's done.
Madam Chair? So there is the English and Māori, you can choose it.
Ko au ko Tricky Rudkin, ka oati ai ki runga I te pono me te tika ka mutu ki te taumata o tōku atamai me aku whakataunga, ka mahi ai mō te painga o te hāpori o Kaikohe-Kohe ki Hokianga, haere tonu ki ngā ihi me ngā haerenga mahi, ka pā ki roto, ka uruhi ki runga, I ahau he mema o te whāri o te hāpori o Kaikohe-Kohe ki Hokianga. E ai ki te ture kāwanatanga a rohe 2022, te ture kāwanatanga a rohe mō ngā kōrero whakamōhio me ngā huihuinga kōrero 1987 me tāpiri atu ki era atu o ngā ture raini. He mea whakau tēnei ki Kaikohe-Kohe I tēnei te rārua te kau o whiringa a nuku 2022. Kia ora. Thank you, Mike, for drawing that to our attention. Can I refer all members now to report 6.4, explanation of laws affecting elected members. And we have Alex here who is going to speak to that. Kia ora, Alex.
Thank you. So my name is Alex. I'm a solicitor in the in-house legal team with Whanau District Council. So I'm just going to run you through some of the main laws that affect elected members such as yourselves. So just to give you an overview, so the Local Government Act requires that elected members at their first meeting are given an overview of certain pieces of legislation. And so the main piece of legislation I'm going to quickly run you through at just a high level is the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, the Local Authorities Members' Interests Act 1968, a few portions of the Crimes Act 1961, the Secret Commissions Act 1910, and the Financial Markets Conduct Act 2013. And also there will be an opportunity for questions. I'm just asking you to hold those questions to the end, because hopefully they will get answered all the way through. So firstly, just starting with the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, which is colloquially known, you hear it as the GOIMA, is how it's often referred to. So the important parts of this act is that there's a starting position of what's called availability. So all information should always be available unless there's a good reason to withhold it. And there's a number of grounds in that act which outline when information can be withheld. And for elected members as well, it's not just written reports or documents that can be requested and potentially released. It's also potentially conversations, text messages, emails, kind of all information is subject to release, again, unless there's a good reason to withhold it. And the Act as well, it's not just about the release of information, it also sets out about prior to meetings, certain requirements for meetings, such as that agendas must be made available, and also all meetings must be in public unless, again, there's a good reason why certain parts of those meetings should be done in private. And again, the Act outlines the circumstances when that can be made private. So now let's progress to the Members' Interests, the Local Authorities Members' Interest Act 1968. And also just to note, a number of these acts have a number of crossovers. As you've probably heard from the dates, they were passed at different times throughout New Zealand's history, so there are some crossovers in some of the elements that apply. So in this Act, the Members' Interest Act, there's two main aspects. The first is that there's a prohibition of elected members having contracts with the local authority. And so it means you can't enter into certain types of contracts with FNDC. And also there's a prevention of elected members to vote or discuss questions in which members have a direct pecuniary interest. And just to note, pecuniary interest, it's not just limited to direct money, it can also be a lot wider than that. It can also include things such as property or anything of value in effect. So it is quite broad. And if there is a breach of that act, the penalty is immediate loss of office, a potential criminal conviction and a fine. The next primary piece of legislation that's relevant is the Crimes Act 1961, and so effectively there's three sections in this act that are applicable to elected members in particular, which is sections 99, 105 and 105A. So under the Crimes Act, a councillor is an official under the Crimes Act, and so that means it's an offence for elected members to seek or obtain a reward for performing their official duties. It's also an offence to using information you acquire as an elected member to obtain an advantage or pecuniary gain. And again, just note it's advantage and pecuniary gain, so that it can be very broad. And so the potential penalty for breaching those sections is potential imprisonment for up to 7 years. So that's one of the most significant. The next piece of legislation is the Secret Commissions Act 1910. So again, this was passed very long ago. So this act deems every elected member to be an agent of the council, and it makes it an offence to accept any inducements or rewards. So again, a lot of these are all about accepting pecuniary gains, advantages, money, or anything along those lines. It's also an offence to divert, obstruct, or interfere with the proper course of affairs of the council, or fail to use your due diligence in the prosecution of council's affairs or business, if there's an intent to obtain a gift or other consideration, so again, anything of value. It's also an offence to not disclose any pecuniary interests when making a contract on behalf of council, and it's also an offence to aid or abet any other offences under that Act. So the potential penalty under that Act is loss of office and again imprisonment for up to 7 years. And the last piece of legislation is the Financial Markets Conduct Act 2013. So this Act primarily deals with the issuing of financial products. So it generally applies to often financial firms, KiwiSaver, etc. All applies to those kind of institutions. And it applies to council as well because council does have the power to issue debt and other instruments to raise money. And so effectively elected members are treated as the director of the local authority. And so personal liability can arise if any disclosure statements made by council are untrue and the elected members are involved in that. But I know at the moment I don't believe council has issued any such instruments. So that's the brief overview of those pieces of legislation. And again, so just to reiterate the main points, effectively a lot of it is all about ensuring that in your duties you don't accept or gain any pecuniary advantage or reward for yourselves, and effectively just acting with integrity in the undertaking of your duties as elected members. Does anyone have any questions I'd like to ask?
Thanks, Alex. So I'll move that.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just one other point as well. During your term on the community board, if you do have any particular issues or that arise where you think you might have a conflict, you can seek advice through the CE's office or also through the chair and then through the community board liaison who can then get specific advice on your situation. So if you're ever unsure, it's always better to seek that advice before voting and undertaking certain activities on the community board. So seeking that advice can be really helpful.
Thanks, Alex. Can I move that report? That the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board note the report, explanation of laws affecting elected members and the advice provided at this meeting. I'll move that. Move up to second it. Thank you, Tanya. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Fine. Thanks, Alex. Moving on with our agenda. Uh, 6.5, noting of Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board standing orders on page 104. Someone to discuss that.
So the standing orders, the board is being asked to note are the standing orders that are the current standing orders that were adopted by the previous community board. It's community board amendments in it that have been ratified through resolution already. There is a standing orders that the other two boards adopt. Kaikohe-Hokianga standing orders are different from those standing orders. So you do have a choice as a board to adopt or note the current standing orders or to adopt the same standing orders that the other two community boards have. I don't have a copy of the standard ones. They run along the same size as this current one. Again, it is your choice to adopt or not.
Okay. Has anyone had a chance to read the standing orders? So can I invite you, Mike, to give us a Tracy, please?
Okay, so standing orders are our rules. That's the first thing to know, and they're our rules. They're not anybody else's rules. There's a whole bunch of rules in there that are other people's rules, and they're just like the Local Government Act is repeated there. Some of the Local Government Act, the Women parts are in there, Local Government Act parts are in there where they relate to meetings. But all the other parts that are ours are ours. Okay, so when we pass, sorry, we're not passing it, whenever we change anything, we've got to get a 75% vote. Okay, and when we do that, they become our rules. It's just like playing a game of Monopoly, right? You know how when you play Monopoly, you've always got your house rules, how the family plays it versus how the world is written. Those are our, these are exactly the same. So as we go on, these are the rules that we've chosen, and therefore, Chicky, you get to enforce them, or we expect you to enforce them, because because they're our rules. And so anybody taking advantage of longer time or interrupting or any of the breaking the rules, the point of order that people say is merely one of us saying, hey look, at the beginning of the term, we set our own monopoly house rules and we expect you to follow them. Then some of these rules in here that are different, you saw the one this morning with system for voting. We changed that in the last term simply because we wanted to expand on the fairness of the voting system. One of the first things we changed back in 2016, I think, was we removed the casting vote from the chair because we felt it was unfair that a chair got 2 votes, right? And so there's a bunch of little things like that that we've made, and this board by 7+7 vote can change that. So all it is, it's our rules, and if we all understand that they're our rules, then it becomes, I guess a little bit more relaxed, because if we don't like it, we change it. But standing rules are all about protecting the minority, protecting the one person, perhaps, or 2 people who are being treated unfairly in the meeting, because they can stand up and say, I'm being treated unfairly, and the meeting is obliged to treat them fairly by those rules.
Can I ask can we, if we wanted to change, can we just decide to call a meeting to change, or is there a set time frame?
Okay, it's all on the standing orders, but you'll need to put it into a motion, formal motion, to be presented at a meeting.
And at the time of the meeting, say, because as we go, okay, so we go through the process and we think, oh, that's actually not right. We don't feel that. That's right.
Okay, yes, great.
Can we say actually,
great
based on this part of the conversation, I don't think that's right for us as a board. I move a motion that we consider doing whatever.
3 ways actually. Okay. The first way is that for the meeting, you can, as a 75% majority, you can choose to suspend that particular standing order. Number one. For the meeting, and then go straight back. Right?
During the meeting.
During the meeting,
yeah.
Or you can in fact do it for a particular subject.
Yeah.
So if we decide that 5 minutes is too short and we think that somebody's going to pull us up, we say, look, can we suspend standing orders on the length of the talk, sort of not, and we all agree at 75% and away it goes. Right. The second way is to bring it up as a motion, a notice of motion, or some way to get on the agenda, because we can't talk about things in the meeting that aren't on the agenda.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so you can make it a members report describing how you'd like to do it, and discuss it that way. And another way, which is up to you, Chicky, is something called unanimous consent, which basically Chicky lets the meeting go as whichever way she wants. Okay, and as long as nobody comes up and says, hey, hang on a minute, we have rules, then the meeting can carry on. So what it enables you, Chicky, is to run the meeting in a very relaxed manner until someone wants to say, I'm being disadvantaged by this, when you bring it back to order. So there's the 3 ways.
Thank you, Mike. Have you tended to use standing orders very much throughout your time as?
I like to start with the impression that I know standing orders and I'm going to keep them, because it's far easier to start strict. Well, you know, for a teacher, you start strict on first stuff on day number 1, right? And then you relax over the next 3 years.
Okay, well, once I've read them and I understand them and I know them better, then I'll feel a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, and the other
at the moment.
Another bit of advice for all of you. I know you're not Chicky and you don't need to know them, but if you don't know the standing orders, they will be used against you by somebody. Because somebody will say the standing orders say this, or you can't do that.
Yes.
Sit down and shut up.
Yes.
But if you know the standing orders, then you can say that.
You can talk to them. Yeah. So just like anything, knowing them and understanding them and using them effectively and well is what we want. Kaikohe. Thanks, Mike. Any further questions about standing orders? Okay. So I'll move that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board note the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board standing orders.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Kaikohe. So report 6.6 on page 108. is the calendar, I believe, for the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board first meeting dates.
107.
107, aye, 107.
Just make a point of it here, and I'll stop after the meeting because you know,
It's okay.
that's acknowledged to get news.
Welcome to.
We have the ability to make decisions in law, it says our seats, okay, to adopt, to set the date and time, place for this meeting, or adopt a schedule. In this particular case, we're just being asked to note a report, which is just wrong. This is taking a decision away from us. There may be very good reasons why it's done like this, you know, I do it to the actual date, and we'll probably end up choosing that date. But just let's be, I think we need to be as a group, fairly strong about what our decisions are and what they are. So let's keep that for ourselves rather than later.
Sure, thanks, Mike. I think the words to note indicate to me that there's a little bit of flexibility around the dates and times.
Except they're our decision when they are. So let's make that decision. I mean, if you want them on these days, then choose these days.
So if we can have a look at those dates, the 16th of November, Wednesday, the 16th of November, is there a general time that you
Once again, it's entirely up to you, or us.
Us, yes. I'd like that to be an us decision. And they're both Wednesdays, so if we can consider those, do we need to move and second those
If
today?
you would like to make a change, then you will need to move an amendment to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying I move that the final two meetings of the year are the Wednesday, the 16th of November, and Monday, Wednesday, the 14th of December, at 10 o'clock at the Kaikohe-Hokianga, Kaikohe Council Chambers.
Can we discuss this?
Okay, well,
Yes.
once again,
We've moved
you
it.
move, you second, you discuss,
Okay,
then you vote.
Yeah.
Or amend.
So you've moved that, Mike? Do we have a seconder for that, please? I'll second that. All those in favour?
No, now we discuss and amend.
Okay, we discuss. Right. So, Jess, you had some discussion about the date, times?
I guess if there's pressing reason to have it at that date and time, that's fine, but as Tanya mentioned, that there's a bunch of people who work in schools, and so that, and who are working, so could it be discussed perhaps that we have it outside school hours?
Okay, I was just going to say, can we have a reason why?
I'm happy with the day. I'm fine with any day actually, because that's the commitment we've made. But having it afternoon through to say, you know, like a 1:30 through to 5:30 or whatever we need will be more suitable. And it's just really, really hard to get relievers in schools, in our school in particular, Māori medium. So yeah,
I can move an amendment to replace the 10 o'clock with 1:30.
does anyone else want to say anything to that before I make an amendment to move to?
Mike has to make that amendment.
No.
No,
So
anyone can.
So anyone can make an amendment. So if you want to discuss, see, at the moment we're discussing the 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you wish to discuss something else, you just make an amendment and change it, and then we discuss that amendment.
Yeah.
And that becomes a motion we carry on.
We currently have an amendment on the table, which is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Board December 2022 meeting be held Wednesday, 14th December, 10 a.m. at Council Chambers. That was moved by Mike and seconded by Chair. That will need a decision.
That was the.
We're amending as an amendment.
No, this recommendation wasn't a motion. I made a motion. So the original motion is my motion.
And it was Wednesday the 16th.
I see.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Okay, and now someone, if there's something, if you wish to make an amendment, then you make an amendment. Simple as that.
I'd like an amendment to the recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board to meet on Wednesday, on those dates, however, can the time be from 1:30 through to start time 1:30.
What is the normal time frame for these that works?
Can somebody second that amendment?
So it's just the start time being 1:30, not 10.
I'm just wondering what is
Just a moment,
expected.
please. So you've seconded that? Thank you, that. All those in favour?
No.
No
discussion on
That's
this.
a motion by itself and can be
Okay,
discussed.
right. Do we have any discussion about the 130?
Yeah, then you go back to the original motion, yeah.
Can I-
So you now discuss the amendment. Once we
Right.
discuss and vote on the amendment, then we go back to the larger
Okay.
motion.
Any discussion about the amendment?
Can I ask what length of time, if we started at 1:30, what is the length of time expected at these hui that we have to commit to?
Our meetings here have lasted, on average, I guess, 3 hours. But the other community boards have lasted all day from 9 o'clock. So it all depends on I guess the conduct of the meeting and the chair, how efficient they are at expediting and dispatching with business. You've also got to consider with the staff of all that time as well. So that's a question for.
That's one of the considerations
Okay.
about going that late.
Okay, how do I withdraw what my amendment is then? After discussing, I thought, oh, I'll just start at 10 o'clock.
I'm going to refer to, so in support of my community board, I'm willing to stay if the time goes over. Ideally, it would be a great idea, well, great to finish around 5 o'clock for all of us, I'm sure. But I am able to extend beyond that in support of my board if that's the call of the board. Other staff may not, and they do get a say in this because we've got support staff for the board.
That's right.
But that didn't say that. I just want to make that.
Okay, well, we'll keep it with 10 a.m.
So everybody knows Aisha. Aisha has her hand raised.
Aisha.
Sure, I thought I'd just add in, so the community board, like yourselves, do set the dates, the times, and it is the responsibility of the chief executive to make sure that you're supported in whatever your decisions are. So if you choose to have an evening meeting or an earlier morning meeting, then we need to work out the logistics and how we support that. You need to make the decision on when you can be prepared to make decisions and how you can effectively engage your communities. So if that means that you engage with them after school hours or during school hours or whenever, then that is your choice. You know your communities better than we do. In terms of the duration of meeting, it does vary, but the standing orders currently have a time frame of when you would need to kind of start to wrap up meetings or resolve to continue. I want to just make the point too that while some of our meetings are a lot longer than others, they tend to be because they have more engagement from the community. So at the start of an ordinary community board meeting, you normally have the floor open for people to come and speak to you. Standing orders does prescribe some time limits around that, but that's where the other meetings tend to go a little bit longer. So if you want to be really engaging with your community, that's when your meetings might take a little bit longer. But if they start to get unwieldy, we can look at ways to manage that so that it is more manageable. Part of the other rationale of having meetings in the morning is we know that people are fresh. Meetings are effectively for making decisions, so we want you to be in the right mind frame to be able to have meetings and make those decisions. And if it means that you're running around busy doing other commitments before that, then will you be in the right frame of mind to make decisions on behalf of your community? So there are lots of things to take into consideration, which is part of why the recommendation in front of you today is to continue with the legacy that our going forward has had, and you can have the feeling of how it will work for you and your communities, and then set the new dates moving forward.
Okay, so thank you for that, Kilda. So it would be, Thursday would be more ideal in terms of 10 a.m. start fine, but Thursday would be fantastic.
Okay.
Sorry, I also just forgot to mention, the legislation does require community boards to fit around council meetings. So at the moment, we don't have an indication from the mayor on how frequently he'd like us to meet or what days.
Okay.
So we would be looking for his guidance first, and then we would hope you would work around him.
Okay. So where are we at with our motion?
Just the amendment's still on the table. For 1 o'clock.
Just leave it. No, I'll just.
So
Can I just throw in there, sometimes our public forums have lasted 2 hours. started at 10:30 and gone through to 12:30. And I would say that kind of time frame is actually quite often. Once again, it's all a matter of about how I was pretty relaxed on the forum, so people got more than 5 minutes. If they're quite engaged, it'll be up to you guys and Chippy.
Okay, Tanya, would you like to withdraw your?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you know, it's, you can choose your dates,
So
but
can you
really you
just
can't choose your
read-
dates.
We can withdraw that.
Withdraw that, so
Yeah.
what's on the table at the moment?
The original recommendation by member Edmonds that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board December 2022 meeting be held Wednesday, 14th December, 10 a.m. at council chambers.
And the November one,
And November 16th.
November 16th, apologies.
10 a.m. is it?
Yes.
Okay, all in favour?
Yeah.
Aye. Thank you.
Sorry.
Majority.
Carrie?
Aye, Kerry. Right, thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is, we're up to the karakia whakamutunga. Right. That was very nerve-wracking for me, but thank you, Alex, for being here, and to our support staff here. I really appreciate your support. You're doing the job, and Mike, your experience is definitely appreciated.
It might not be after a while.
No, that's right, but I have something called Panadol. And just thank you to
You laugh like you know what I'm talking about, Michelle.
Oh.
Listen.
thank you to people that have sat through our meeting this morning. Nice to have you here. So if we'd like to close, team, would you like to close with karakia, please? And then we have lunch somewhere.
We have lunch through the.
Lunch in the lunchroom. Right, kia ora. Aye, te ako, please.
Me noi tātou, kia tātou katoa, te atua o tō tātou arihi, koe e karate me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 amen.
Jamie, would you end the